Bueno, digo, take care. Cuídate.
Oh, hey, are you the one that was asking me about Hispanic Heritage Week in Florida? Oh, well, nice to meet you. I tell you what, I happen to be the surgeon here at the military hospital, and I guess I'm the perfect person to show you around. Turns out that there's a lot of history here in St. Augustine that does relate to our culture and our heritage. Tell you what, let me give you an example of a few things. You want to follow me? Okay, well, tell you what, come on in. I want you to take a look at this, okay? This was actually installed back in 2002, and it's interesting because this has an actual reference link to this city. There was a number of students from a school in Asturias in Spain that they were from a ceramics class, and they put together this little mosaic to give as a gift to the city of St. Augustine, because both Asturias and Avilés in Asturias and St. Augustine in Florida are sister cities. If you notice, a lot of the designs that we have here are related to Pedro Benéndez de Avilés, who was the founder of St. Augustine in 1565. So all of the students basically built this down in Spain. Now, it turns out that if you go to Asturias or Avilés in Spain, they also have another mural or mosaic similar to this, but it was done by students here in St. Augustine that they give a gift to the city of Avilés for giving us this gift. So it was two exchanges by student groups, and this basically ties us as our cultural heritage in St. Augustine and Avilés in Spain. But there's more. I want you guys coming around, and I'll show you the remainder, okay? Come on. So guys, when we were talking a little bit earlier in the street, this area over here, this street was actually called today Avilés Street. However, back then in the time of the hospital, this was actually called Hospital Street. Now this, of course, was my workplace, but also we had a couple of different houses that were in the main street, especially to the right. That location was called the Jimenez Fatio home. Now, what you want to know, which is a very high interest, is that a lot of the population that we had here, especially during my time, were mixed. We weren't just all from Spain. There were individuals that actually were born here in St. Augustine, and they're part of the fabric of Hispanic populations that we have today. So guys, here's something very interesting that's very unique here in St. Augustine. If you notice the statue that was behind me, how many of you guys are from the island of Puerto Rico? Well, how about that? You're gonna see something interesting. This statue here actually represents the person of Juan Ponce de León, okay? Juan Ponce was the discoverer of Florida, if you want to call it, in 1513. You can see that very much in the plaque that's there. Now, here's what's interesting about it, guys. It turns out that if you look very carefully at the statue, it is in the same shape and form as the statue that was originally created in the island of San Juan in Puerto Rico. If you go into the old city portion of the city, you're gonna see that statue. This statue is actually a replica of that very statue. Here in St. Augustine in the year 1922, there was a gentleman by the name of Dr. Andrew Anderson, and he actually sponsored to have a beautification project, and he always remembered our historical and Hispanic roots, and he decided to basically, give it a nudge, if you will, to the history of St. Augustine by getting a copy. They actually sent individuals to San Juan, Puerto Rico to make a cast to mold exactly the very statue that resides in San Juan, and here it is. Here's the copy. So there's only two places in the world that have that very statue, one in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and this one here in St. Augustine. Isn't that interesting? One last final detail, it turns out that the original statue in San Juan was made out of the cannons that were left over from the British when they tried to siege the island of San Juan in the year 1797. So they both have a very intricate history that represents the representation of Hispanic culture. Not only that, a lot of people think that the people who defended the island were Spanish. They were, but they were all original or were born in the island of Puerto Rico. So literally those were Puerto Ricans defending their own island. And you're gonna see in the last feature that I have for you, you're gonna understand why that is so significant to tell who was really Spanish or who really was from one of the countries that make up our Latin American and Hispanic country. Here, I got one final detail that you'll be interested in. It turns out that I happen to be in front of a very important monument that relates to our Hispanic heritage. This is what they call the obelisk for the Constitution of 1812. Let me explain to you how important this is. You guys are very familiar with how government is structured today in the United States, right? Well, turns out that in Spain, in the year 1812, we were already moving in the same direction in terms of independent liberties and rights for all citizens within the Spanish Empire. So basically, all of our heritage, doesn't matter what country we're coming from. Are we coming from South America? Are we coming from Central and North America? Or are we coming from the Caribbean? All of those were really, oh, and don't forget the Philippines, which were also part of the empire. And they also spoke Spanish there. So that heritage, okay, the culture, the customs, all of that basically was being narrowed down into a form of a government structure. And that's what this was. If you notice and focus, this was the dedication of the Constitution of 1812, which was erected here in the city of St. Augustine. Now, at that time, what was important for the citizens of Spain was that they wanted individual rights to be recognized. One of the most important ones is that we were all to be considered citizens of the Spanish territories. And I am talking about that a person that would come from Spain would be the same as a person who was born in Caracas, as the same as a person who was born in Veracruz. All of those individuals would have been considered of the same status and the same government. And that's what the Constitution decided to do. It was promulgated in the year 1812, as the plaque says here, because it was St. Augustine. It took about a year's time to erect it, but it also offers something very interesting. Besides the regular rights of man, it also gave freedom of the press, freedom of expression, and also a federalist point of view in government. If you guys are curious of what that means, it's basically how today in the United States, our government has the separation and respect of state governments, local governments working together, and the federal government. And that structure was initiated by this Spanish promulgation. Unfortunately, it was derogated in the year 1814. There's a number of reasons why, but like I said, this is a very important document, this monument. Not just because of what it meant, it's also because it so happens this is the only last monument that is still standing when it was created throughout all of the Americas. Unfortunately, a lot of the other structures were lost, but the one here in St. Augustine is the only one remaining. So if you want to know a little bit more about Hispanic heritage and your own culture and explore more about your roots, this is the very place that you want to start, right here in the middle of the Plaza de Constitución, and then move around to see more of St. Augustine, which I'm pretty sure every one of you has a little something of you in here. Take care, guys. Thank you.